1 second. Yeah, 1 second.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Wherever you are, Zambia, Africa, diaspora, as they call it back home, we appreciate you guys for being here. Today promises to be amazing episode. We have an amazing guest prepared for you guys. I believe there's a lot that we're going to talk about. That's all, and you can draw inspiration from every single thing we talk about. So ngatutamba uli kubondi, get a book. If you are on your phones, get your notebooks open and stuff like that. Start jotting down some things because this promises to be an amazing episode. Our guest today is somebody I know, but I think the world needs to know who our guest is today. And without further ado, I'll allow her to introduce herself. So, Clara, this is your floor. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are.
Thank you. That's a good intro. Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Jackson. And yeah, my name is Cararise Lubamba. Born and raised in Lusaka, Zambia, and yeah, I'm in school right now in Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, and I'm a junior, rising senior. Yeah, and I'm studying finance and economics. I don't know what else.
Mm. That's a good introduction. That's a good introduction. Which is just something different that Nelson and I just give each other. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, like there's a lot that we can like talk about and where to start from, right? But I think I would like for people to know just like your journey to Oklahoma, how you got there, like what were the steps you took, because somebody might be watching back home, they're in high school and they're like, I want to go to Oklahoma like Cararise, so what can I do? So like just let us know what are the steps you took to get where you are.
Yeah, so my journey begins in Matera. That's where I was born, and I went to a primary school there, St. Monica's girls' school. And yeah, so I was at a girls. I've had, my as I talk about my journey, my educational journey. You see that it's been like, yeah, I've had different aspects of it. So girls' school, really nice, and yeah, from there, I think in grade 7, I had a great, wonderful opportunity. I always say KF Kuchetekela Foundation was a game changer for me. So this organization came in and they recruited students based on their academic performance, but not necessarily had the funds or the finances to go to like renowned schools in Zambia. So I got the opportunity and received a scholarship, and I went to Charlo Trust. So I went there from grade 8 to grade 12. Incredible experience. Met different students from different backgrounds. And yeah, I grew into myself. Like I started debating and just knew like some of the things I was really good at. And just grew as a leader as well when I was there. And then so after Charlo, I graduated in 2018, and I worked for like a year. I was working at Book World, and during that year, I was applying to different schools. So KF gave us a lot of exposure, and so before Kuchetikela Foundation, I had never thought about like going to study abroad or anything like that. But through KF, we met like different alumni who had graduated from the two schools that KF sends their students to and had already gone abroad. So I just started getting, those ideas. I'm like, okay, this is possible. I can also go and study abroad. So I just had that on my heart. And so during that gap year, I was applying to different schools. My initial desire was to go to university immediately after graduating high school, but I wasn't able to get into schools then. So, but what I got into was a pre-university program. So I went ahead and did the IB program, and I went to Japan. Incredible experience as well. And then there, during that 2 years, studied and everything, and also applied to colleges. That's how I got to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's like you just pass through this statement of saying I went to Japan, but most of our people back home, they don't know what life is like in Japan. Can you just elaborate like what Japan is like compared to Lusaka, for example?
Mm. Yeah, that experience, life changing again, very very incredible 2 years of my life. Yeah, I never knew that I was going to go to Japan when I was applying for the UWC scholarship. So you just apply and then they recommend you to different schools that you go to. So I was recommended to go to Japan. No one had ever gone to Japan from my high school, especially like I said, the people in the foundation that go to these different schools. So yeah, I was nervous but excited as well. I didn't know what to expect. Didn't know anything Japanese. My friends used to watch anime. I'm not an anime person, so no idea what to expect. Didn't know the language, but just hope and courage. I guess I went there, and yeah, it was an international school, so students from all over the world. Everybody spoke English, so it wasn't too difficult. It was just hard when you step out. I had to pick up one or two, things, especially in the stores, just for me to get by. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What was your question again? You said
Yeah,
how
like how life is in Japan compared to Lusaka.
it's very very different. Yeah, I know sometimes I'm like when I reflect, it feels so distant now, but it's just uh yeah, it's very different. Just the culture obviously like very different from Zambia. A lot of technology in Japan, like everything is so, I wouldn't say it's very fast, but it's just very efficient. Like buses are on time. Yeah, I don't know how to, the food obviously is very different. It was just culturally very different.
Did you learn any Japanese? Because I'm a huge fan of anime, so I'm about to start cooking some anime.
You probably know more Japanese than I do, but I learned enough to get me by, just a little bit. Yeah.
Mm.
What I should have done, I think, was to take Japanese as a class, because obviously, like as you're interacting, you pick up some things. But if I took Japanese as a language, I would have learnt more. Instead, I took Spanish, which is nice, but I think it would have been more appropriate for me to learn Japanese in Japan. But I was intimidated and scared to take it.
Mm. Nice, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So Cararise went to Charlo. She worked for Bukwa for a little bit. Then she went to Japan before eventually going to Oklahoma, right? So, like
Mm-hmm.
you talked about studying, is it business economics or something like that?
Yes, economics and finance.
Economics and finance. So, like, how did that interest come about? Did you just choose it while, like, for example, you're in Japan, or it sort of was there way before even Japan came to mind?
Yeah. When I was in high school, like many people, I had different dreams. When I was really young, I wanted to be an astronaut. Then during Chalo, I was like, I want to be a cardiologist. I want to do anything medicine related. Um, but I think I was always open because one of my best like classes was accounting. So I really loved accounting. I did so well in it, and I was like, okay. I never thought to pursue a career in it. No, I think I actually did. At some point, I was like, I want to be an accountant. So yeah, but also I had a lot of interest in like Zambian politics. So as a kid, you would find me reading newspapers. Like I would watch the news with so much interest. I was just always intrigued whenever like even when they talk about different ministries. For me, those things used to really interest me. But I didn't know like there was like a career path I could pursue. But when I went to Japan, I took economics and global politics. Those were one of the two courses I took, and I took biology as well because just in case I thought I would pursue the science route. But econ stole my heart. I don't know, something about those GDP stuff. I was just like, okay, coming from Zambia, every time we would complain about the economy. The economy is not doing well, prices are going up, and all these things. So for me, I was like,
Yeah.
this economy that we're always talking about, and can someone do something about it? So I think now finally being in an economics class, which I never had an opportunity to take at home, I was like, this is it. This is the economy people keep talking about, and these are some of the tools and policies that we can implement to help our economy. So just from there, I was like, I'm going to be an economist. Started almost like just a joke and just personal like interest, and then yeah, I just took it with me, came to OU. They offered economics and I was like, I'm gonna do econ, but I wanted to do it with another major that's related, so I took it with finance.
Nice, nice. So you talked about, like you were looking at where you came from, the Zambian political landscape, and like people were always talking about the economy is doing this. Hey, our government, this economy, yes, so so like now with the knowledge that you have, and
Mm-hmm.
looking back at the Zambian economic setup or stuff like that, like what are some of the things that you've learned in your classes in economics that you can look back at the Zambian economy and like, I now understand this part of the economy, and I think like we can move this way going forward. Like now that I have this information, I didn't know this coming in. Now that I know it, like how can we move forward as Zambia? How can you help somebody who doesn't know anything about economics understand what it means when they say the government economy is going down and it's going up, and what can we do going forward to help that economy that we're always talking about? Because I don't know.
To be honest, I'm very, very far from being the economist that I should be, that I aspire to be. Um, so I think, yeah, most of the things that I know, you people already know, and some people, at home know already. Um, I think I just dwell a lot on like thinking about education and health. So I think I'm leaning towards whenever it's time for me to go like get more advanced education, I would like to focus on like education economics and health economics because it's very broad, right? So I think some of the regular things that people just need to understand, which they already know. Like there's business cycles, and sometimes the economy is down in a recession, and sometimes it's expanding, it's going up. So whenever there's like high interest rates, you would suspect that the economy is expanding. But sometimes we are in very bad dilemmas. We're in dilemmas where like interest rates are going up, our economy should be expanding, and yet we're in a recession. So sometimes like it's crazy when I look at, obviously like the economics I'm learning here also is very like it's US centered. So I have to apply now. That's why I read a lot like concerning like Zambia in general, but Africa. Um just to look at how I can relate some of the things that I'm learning to our economies. And yeah, yeah, I don't know if there's yeah, I don't wanna get too much into whatever. But I'm still learning. I'm still a long, long way ahead.
Nah, we get it. We get
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Nelson has been too quiet. Nelson, you have a question?
No, I'm learning just like all of you. Um, there's a very good Zambian economist that I follow by the name of Dambisa Moyo. And I was just reading your blog. You intended on reading one of her books, Dead Aid, which I feel
Mm.
like sums up um, most of African economies. I'm curious, what did you learn from that book if you've already like gone through it?
Yeah. Oh, you said you read my one of my blogs.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I
I
really
read two.
appreciate it.
I read two out of three.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, from Dead Ed, yeah, she shared a lot of like great insight in that book. But yeah, so it's interesting when you read like a Zambian author. I've read a few Zambian authors, but Dambisa Moyo, because she takes that economic perspective. When she
Yeah.
walks us through the history of Zambia, she starts from pre-independence a little bit, and then goes to during independence, and then post-independence, and then talking about how the economy was. So transitioning from, because initially it was very so. our like things in the, how can I say this? A lot of companies were government owned, and then later on they got privatized and everything. So she walks us through that, and I feel like just as a Zambian, that was really good to know, like just the history and looking at it from with an economic eye or an economy eye. But then also like she centered very well on aid. So we are always hearing about aid. Our country has got this aid from this, from this, from this, and then she was basically just saying we don't need aid. What we need is for us to be self-sufficient and independent as countries, which was, a good perspective to know that how can you really be self-sufficient as a country if you're getting aid from other countries. I feel like as African countries, we need to discover how to really just be sufficient on our own. Yeah, and how that would be if we stopped focusing so much on like receiving all this aid, which she said basically it just cripples our economies. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so you said something like we as African countries need to discover like what we need to do, to become more self-sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I look at the world economics and whatever is going on out there, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
see that Africa holds the resources for the even technological advancements of the whole world, but yet we are the poorest continent. So,
Yep.
like, where is the disconnect there? We have the resources, but we are the poorest. Like,
Yeah.
what do we need to do to put ourselves in a better place? Like, what are we missing there? Like, I don't even get it. Do you
Mm.
know? Or do you see anything what we can do? What is the problem with Africans? Let me put it that way.
Yeah, those are the questions I wrestle with, Jackson. Those are the questions I ask myself. Why? Like, where are we not getting it wrong? And I think as a collective, we need to discover what that is and find that
Mm,
answer together. But some of the things that for me, I really think is very crucial, like Africa needs to go through some, like, like big changes. And I feel like a big change would come if Africa was to unite. If
yeah,
African
yeah.
countries were just to say, all differences aside, let's unite this continent. Forget about, like, even like, oh, people bring these arguments, who's going to be the president if we do. I'm like, that's irrelevant. It's important, but like, for the amount of problems that we have, it's really irrelevant. If we can economically unite, so we have an African bank for the whole continent. First of all, our financial markets are going to, like, it's going to
Mm.
be a very big financial market. And if we can just bring our economies together, have one African currency, I advocate for this every time. Have one African currency, have a bank, create a financial African financial system. I don't know if there are people in Zambia who are buying stocks or bonds from different African countries. If they are, it's a very small market. So if we can unite the continent economically, facilitate trade, making sure that it's easier for people to, for businesses to trade amongst themselves, and for people to exchange ideas and to exchange whatever we can exchange. But I feel like uniting the continent economically would like change a lot. That's just my view.
I share that view as well because uh, like there's power in unity.
Yeah.
I'm in the United States, and this is one of the places I've been to outside Africa.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only place I've been to outside Africa. So like I draw whatever they've done here. I like try to use whatever they've done compared to what is happening back home, and I see
Mm-hmm.
what they did here. They had all these different places. They brought them together, and they're like, we're gonna create what is known as the United States of America. All these
Mm.
places were different at some point. 50 different states. Africa is like 54 countries. If
Yeah.
America did it with 50 different states, what is stopping Africa from doing the same? That is the question I always ask myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I start asking such questions, I get back to the root cause of why we think the way we do.
Mm.
Our kids, even us, the way we grew up,
Mm-hmm.
our understanding of the world and whatever we do stems from the education we receive. What are
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts on the kind of the education system we have back home and what it is doing to shape what kind of individuals we are growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very important. I think that's yeah, that now that's going to the roots, and trying to see, yeah, education, man. It's very important, and I think if we start from there and then packing it from there and creating a system, an education system that helps facilitate the kind of development we aspire to have, it will really help.
What does it look like for you? Respect in an ideal world. How would you like the Zambian education system to be set up?
That's a very good question. So what
And
I
it,
think
it's a
is,
personal one, right? Like it's what
yeah.
you personally feel like, maybe from your experience.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think I've been thinking about that a lot. Even like I said, I'm very passionate about like education and economy and health. And I think for me, I want to form whenever it's time for me to make an opinion on that case. I really want to go home and like study the system again, be there and study the education system. I want to be, because I was in it, but I feel like I want to go back now as a researcher and just really study our education system and think about ways we can make it better. Right now, I think things I can say are just assumptions, which based on like maybe what I've seen in other education systems, I can pick up and say, okay, let's make sure that technology is introduced in schools. There's no reason why up until now, okay, you can start saying problematic things, but like up
No.
until now, phones are still not allowed, laptops are still not allowed. You go to a school, a computer lab, you go there once a week. Why are you going to the computer lab once a week? Now, the only thing you know how to do when you go to that lab is turn on the computer and turn it off. And
Yeah.
then now, whenever you get the chance and you leave the country, you are expected to do all these things, operate some software on your computer. You have zero exposure. Now I'm aware. In some places, you don't expect some places to have a lot of like technology and stuff. But even with schools that have access to these things, they still say, oh no, it will be a distraction. It'll be a distraction for only a short while. After some time, I feel like no matter how distracted you will be, you will know that I need to use this technology for my good. So I think introducing technology at an early stage, it would be very helpful so that people get that exposure. And then some things go without saying. If it's a science, it's bio, you want to do practicals, you should be doing those practicals. You can't just be imagining these things and writing about them. I took computer science, I was coding, and I was coding on my paper. So I would write the code, but I need to actually write the code with the software and actually see what it's actually doing. So I feel like bringing the practicality of things. I feel like I memorized a lot of things in high school. That was just education. Like I'm just learning all this information, very good at it. Come exam, I'm writing down things, but like really applying, and also introducing a lot of like critical thinking stuff. So instead of just telling me Mwata Kazembe did this, we should encourage kids to actually like, I don't know, just take some introspection and analyze things. Why did he do this? What happened after I did this? As opposed to just receiving. We are always just receiving as things as gospel truth in the education system. But you can question and say why. And I think that analysis is very important to any education system.
Yeah, it's crazy you bring that up because I think you also did the YYGS, and I remember when I went for the YYGS in 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people I was put in the same group same group with, there's this thesis we had to like work on, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the people are busy saying, I've sent this to your Gmail, your Google Docs.
Yeah.
We are editing this document. I'm like, what do you mean you're editing? I'm like, no, just check your email. There's a document we're editing together. I'm like, wait, so you guys are working on the same document at the same time? I don't know, like, yeah, just check your email. And then I opened it, I was like, oh yeah, I can see this comment is from this person, this comment. And that was fascinating for me. But it was
Mm.
something that these guys did when they were in primary school. They
Primary
know
school.
what it means to collaborate. And
Yeah.
yet we do not have such in our education system. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I feel that because I felt like you feel like you are not as bright as these people. Meanwhile, you are. You are as
Yeah.
brilliant as these guys. But it's
Yeah.
because of the way we're brought up, the level of thinking we are at, is different from what the whole world subscribes to. And I
Yeah.
feel that, the practicality of things, I think we definitely need that in our nation. It's simple things in like computer science we've talked about, in biology and physics. Like it pains me now in retrospect, right? When I
Mm-hmm.
look back at the science we were doing and all the things we were sort of looking at it on the theoretical aspect. Now
Yeah.
I look at it, I'm like, we could have easily done it without any resources. We could
Mm-hmm.
have demonstrated this thing to the kids.
Yeah.
Explaining something as simple as gravity. Kids, we are so focused on what we see. We're like, okay, I see this, and if I see myself doing that, that's how I'm gonna think growing up. So if
Yeah.
you limit my level of imagination, I'm seeing things in my world, you're gonna limit the way I think in the
Yeah.
outside world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that the education system like definitely needs reform, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the question rises, like, yeah,
Yeah.
the question rises then to say, okay, yeah, we've noticed these things. We've noticed that the only thing they teach us in history is David Livingstone makes Stanley to teach. David Livingstone makes Stanley to teach. Like now
Yeah.
that we've identified these things, we've seen what
Yeah.
needs to change in our economy. I mean, in our curriculum. What
Mm-hmm.
can we do now to facilitate that change?
Mm. I mean, first of all, having conversations like this very, very fundamental. If we start talking about it, at least we are pushing, an idea, and a lot of good things, are birthed through ideas. So sharing these ideas, but also going there on the ground. So, like I was saying, for me, I want to go there and like study, be a student of the system itself, so that whenever it's time to restructure it, we know exactly what we want to restructure. So having a lot of people who go into this education system to restructure it, like enough, like we can talk about it all we want, but if we don't actually do like take the actions, it won't do anything. So going back at home and working with the people in education and being educators. I would like to be an educator one day, but the systematically changing these things, going down to the drawing board and rewriting these books. All those books that we have. What things can we change? Looking at
Everything.
how much does the government allocates to the educational budget? And making sure that for me, health and education should get the largest amount of money in the country. You know what I mean? Because they just encompass a lot of things. Yeah. But some in our own small ways, talking about these things, teaching, giving courses, in our own small ways, we can also do some things that can help out. Yeah.
When you talked about going to Japan and how things are done sort of in an efficient way, why do you think they're more efficient compared to us? What are they doing different?
Well, I think they've had the luxury of time, first of all, which I know I don't like to use time as an excuse for the reason why our countries are where they are right now. But they've had the luxury of time to build systems that are very efficient. So, their just a simple one like their transport system, very efficient. You go there, the bus comes right on time, and if you go late, it will leave you. So I think those small things really matter, and they create a very big picture even for our countries. So like time management, it's something that we joke about, right? Oh no, African time, we are late. But what we don't realize that we push forward a lot of things, right? So if we're supposed to start at 10 a.m. and we start at 12, we've pushed productivity. So now we are not gonna get back that 2 hours that you already lost. So very simple things. I think the Japanese system is very efficient because number one, they really value time. You have to be there on time. They do things on time, and I think that was really helpful. And then yeah, they embrace technology. They're not scared of it, and they introduce it at a very young age, so everyone knows how to use tech. You can't run away. Like technology is here to stay. So the longer we stay like shunning away from it, the longer we're gonna take to just use it and use it to our advantage. So I think that's the system that they've created, right? Which is very vague, even the way I'm saying it, is what makes it efficient.
When you talk about the system, right? The system is,
Yeah.
depending on how you're looking at it, system is made up of
Hmm.
people, or people make the system, depending on how you're looking at it. I'm not sure which one's which. Um, so far
Mm,
in our country, it seems like the people who've been tasked with making a system have been letting us down for the most part.
mm,
How, given the opportunity, I'll take you back to this. Given the opportunity, how would you make a system that fosters or that encourages technology, critical thinking, instead of, you know, remembering stuff and just spitting it out on an exam day? And I wanted
mm,
to tap into your experience in Japan, University of Oklahoma. What are some of the practical things that these places specifically do that we do not do that maybe we should be doing? Aside from just, inculcating a lot of practicality in what we do,
mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of these schools do a whole lot more mentorship, uh, building a sense of community, groups, identifying talent early. So yeah, like what are some of those things from your experience?
Mm. I think we can all share
Oh,
from
then
our,
right, right.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so you said mentorship, encouraging like even just group work, hands-on things. Um, man, everything is connected, right? So like you were saying, coming from our lawmakers themselves. So if you're the minister of education, for instance, I feel like um, there are certain policies that you can put in place that can help facilitate this thing. As a country, you need to have value systems. So I know, like for Zambia, one of our biggest values is Christianity, right? So what else? What are some of our other values? Unity. What else? What are some of our other values? So I think value systems translate into the kind of now system that you have in terms of like maybe in our economic system. I don't know. I feel like everything is interconnected. So if the education system prioritizes now, like you were saying, things like mentorship, if we prioritize education, maybe like encourage the culture of reading, which is also very important, you know, systematically, how can they do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are certain agendas that they can push forward. So if I was to become Minister of Education today, and I say my agenda is to push forward technology, make sure that it's introduced early, that means that even the way I will allocate my budget, I'll make sure that okay, government schools have computer labs, students have access to computers or some form of technology. If my agenda is encouraging the culture of reading, we'll make sure that we create more public libraries. Um we we, we had a public library in Mateo, but not a lot of people even knew about it. So some of those things which can facilitate education, even just not like structured education where in the classroom, but outside the classroom education, even on these TV stations like ZNBC, I don't know what other TV stations are like, um people watch from these days. We can have some sectors just for education. I think there's too much entertainment too. There's just so
Yeah.
much entertainment, even on Facebook. Like, where are some educational people that can be teaching us some things? It's always drama. So, like, can we facilitate education such that kids can't run away from it? You go to TikTok, you find somebody educating you on something. You know, just yeah, some of those things can really help.
It starts with us. It starts with us having such conversation one and us taking on the mantle of saying we should start having these conversations, right? Because
Yeah.
I think one thing that the previous generation suffered from is they were always expecting the people in power to do the job.
Mm,
Now we have the liberty of the internet. We can create content. Like the thing about content, You can create it today, but then the people that will consume it maybe will consume it 3 years from now. That doesn't really matter, but we need to start creating this content. I'm not seeing enough of such content out there, especially for Zambians, where our kids can consume. The only thing they can consume is, oh, your maps and kiddies, who are they beefing against today? Who are they beefing against tomorrow? Who is the biggest artist in Zambia? But guys, that doesn't help us in any way. We have bigger issues to look at. We have the education system, we have the economic system in our nation. These are big problems we need to be looking at. There's no time to be focusing on who your maps is beefing for this day. But yeah, it starts with us. We need to start having this conversation. And I think that's one of the reasons why Nelson and I believe that this platform is gonna create. We wanna start having these conversations. The more we talk about them, the more somebody out there will be like, oh, I never thought of this that way.
Yeah.
Now I think I can change the way I view things. And I think the more of such we have, the more our people's minds will be open to be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it this way. Let me change my life to move in the light from now on.
Yep.
60 years of independence as a country. Um, we have in the past faced droughts. I feel like, well, not I feel like, last year there was another drought, or is it this year? We are still so reliant on electricity as a country, 60 years after independence. There are countries which are, for the most part, deserts, and they still have managed to explore other avenues of generating electricity or power generation. What has gone wrong in our country? Why haven't we moved past um hydroelectricity? What are some of the avenues that we can look into in terms of power generation? Because I'm just looking at some of the problems we are facing like right now, and that's one of the major issues because you know power drives the economy, and if you shut down power, you're basically shutting down parts of the economy that need to move the economy. So from my fellow youths, what do you guys think are some of the power generating avenue that we should be exploring right now?
Yeah. I think,
Random, eh?
Okay, so
Birdie.
yeah. That's a big question, right? And I think we would need like deeper research. But from what I've seen so far, I think most of the time we rely on the government to do stuff for us. Yes, these guys have a responsibility to deliver services, but we can always do the small things for ourselves. Like for example, Zambia are always complaining, "Kwapia maning, kwapia maning." Why is it kwapia? You have a lot of sun out there. You can utilize solar for your power. So why don't most houses or like a good number of houses back home utilize the solar energy back home that we obtain? Why can't
There's
you store that energy? Just for simple things like charging your phone. People are complaining right now there's load shedding. But there's so much sun out there that we can get that power and use to charge our phones. That's just one example. Um,
there's an excuse.
and
Solar is expensive.
It's not really expensive. Like that's the thing. People do not really know the price. They just assume that these things are expensive.
Yeah.
Look these things up. That's why the internet is there. Look these things up.
And that's also a business opportunity, right? Like you
yeah,
Hmm.
see a problem, you solve it.
exactly. Yeah. I think there's so many forms of energy that we can explore, right? I think for even me, Jackson, I am part of the people you are you're ridiculing to say we are always thinking the government, the government. For me, I look at things from I think I look at things from the macro level. But yeah, it's really good to also think about just the micro, like what people can do. Uh, but the government can explore different forms of it. We've been complaining about load shedding since I was born. Every year there's
Yeah,
something. Every year I will carry badam na mensch. Like
it's
guys,
dry.
this thing has been going on for so long. How come we don't have a solution for it by now? So every year we'll be complaining Kariba Dam is dry, Kariba Dam is dry. So yeah, Shekinah recently was in one of my friends. Shekinah was in Cape Town recently, and she was talking about how a lot of houses have solar panels on them. So to your point, Jackson, those are some of the things we could start exploring. Yeah.
And it doesn't take much, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have so guys. Zambians are brilliant. I swear to God, we are brilliant, but we are so reliant on external power to help us. We are not focusing on what we can do as individuals. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start implementing these things, guys. Because kwembekeza nje no the government, the America, the China to come do these things for us. Those guys have the intentions of their people in mind before ours. We need
Yeah.
to come with our intentions as people before we start accepting all this external help, so-called help. Dambisa Moyo criticized the so-called aid. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
When we started this interview, you also highlighted your passion for healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where do you think the state of healthcare back home is, and what do you think are some of the improvements that should be made or can be made?
Mm. Yeah. Again, like I started with answering education. I haven't been home since 2021. So sometimes I feel like my what I think about home is I'm very disconnected at the moment. So I really
you
need
need
to,
to go.
yeah, I need to go home and be home and see things again for myself. But when I was in, I think grade nine, I interned at one of the hospital. Now it's a hospital, Chingwere Hospital, and yeah, I interned there. I think some of the things I observed was like people being in line in queues for a long time. So they come in the morning, they're trying to get medicine or to just have a checkup. They'll be there the whole day, and sometimes you know, sometimes they'll be asked to go back home. Sometimes maybe they wouldn't have medicine. Some of the things I used to notice and observe, a lot of times when people are prescribed medicine, they go and they tell them to go buy their own medicine. Sometimes it's too expensive, some people can't afford it. And then obviously, like some of the things we've seen and heard where somebody needs a very big like surgery or something, and then they have to travel, go to SA or India or wherever they need to go. Now my question is always, how about that person who doesn't have money? How about,
Yeah.
you know like those um that cannot afford? So that's it for them. They can't afford a trip, so that's it. They won't have the help that they need to get. So I think, yeah, all those things. If we can have, how can we make sure that people come into just like a business? How can we make sure that things are efficient and fast? You come to hospital, you receive the help that you need, you go back home, and you don't have people standing in long lines for a long time. And then how come up until now we have to make somebody travel to go and access this whatever medical procedure? Why don't we have these facilities yet? So those are some of the things that when I'm home I really want to like study and see how we can facilitate some of these changes. Yeah.
You also, you can go ahead, Jackson.
It's a tangent. So if you have something related, you can ask.
No, mine I was also tangent, so you go.
Okay, so I just wrote something down like a few minutes ago when you're talking about some of the values we have as Zambians. We call ourselves a Christian nation. So like these days, like Zambian education system did not build me to think and question why things are the way they are. When I came here, they built me to question why things are the way they are, right? And one of the questions I kept asking was, we call ourselves a Christian nation, but what does that really mean for a Zambian? What do you, when you say we are a Christian nation, for a Zambian born today, what do you mean when you say Zambia is a Christian nation? How does that benefit our nation? What exactly does it mean to be a Christian in the Zambian context? So I'm just wondering, to pick on your brain, what does it mean to be a Christian nation for you as a Zambian child? And how can we use that going forward?
Wow. What?
I've been questioning a lot of things.
No, that's a very good question. What does it mean that our country is a Christian nation, and how does that, right? Yeah, some of it we need to go read how they even put this, how they declare the country a Christian nation and what that means. Well, I think it means our constitution is written and based on the ideals of the Bible, so of the Christian faith, I guess, or the Christian religion. So I guess, whatever laws are in our constitution have to align with what's in the Bible. That's what I think on a constitutional level. Now, does that mean every Zambian is a Christian, or does that mean every Zambian should be a Christian? Does that mean every Zambian should follow the ideals of the Bible? I don't know if that's what it means. Yeah.
Whenever I look at these two things, the Bible and Christianity, I don't know if you. I'm deep in the Bible. I've been reading a lot about the Bible, and every time I read the Bible and I look at Christianity, I don't know if it's just me, but for me, these two are separate. Christianity and the Bible are two different entities.
Mm.
Christianity is a way, I don't know, a way of life that people are following. The
It's like,
Bible, the Bible is telling us exactly what we need to do as a people. And so whenever we say Christianity and the Bible, we put them together, but in my world, these two are different.
mm.
Christianity, from what I've studied, I'm going to be very controversial from this point onwards, and
Okay.
people can bear with me. Christianity was brought to us at the same time as colonialism.
Okay.
So when they came to colonize us, they brought this term Christianity. Their definition of Christianity is not what the Bible entails to what
Mm,
is supposed to be Christianity. Because their version of Christianity is nitpicking certain portions of the Bible that
mm,
align. That's what I'm saying. Like, our history is so bad. The only thing they teach us is David Livingstone met Stanley to Gigi. We don't care about that. We need to understand, okay, these people came to us in this 1890. I don't know when Cecil John Rhodes came to our nation. But then they're saying these people came to us in this year, right?
mm-hmm,
But we were living before he came. So we
mm,
need, our history needs to teach us what was happening before Cecil John Rhodes came. From my limited studies, I've learned that we used to follow the Bible, but not in the way that it was interpreted to us by the
mm,
white, the people that came to colonize us. So
mm,
when they came to colonize us, they brought this version of Christianity. And unfortunately, that is what we, call Christianity for the Zambian people. We say
mm,
this is the Christianity it's their definition of what they believe the Bible to be based on their interpretation. But
mm,
we are the Zambian people. We see the world differently from them. They come from a land far away. That's why they came to our land. They found Mosotunya and they called it Victoria Falls. They do
mm,
not understand our relation to the nature. So when we say Christianity, we are using it based on what these people are saying, right? And then
mhm,
my question is always, what were we doing before these people came? We
mm,
used to do something that, in my opinion, used to work because most of the scientific investment, I'm in science, so I can see some technological advancements, some stuff they're achieving. And every time
mhm,
I see something new, I'm like, Africans used to do that. You
mm,
guys are banking from what Africans are used to do. The only thing that separates you guys from us is that you guys wrote it down. We used
Yeah.
to teach it to our kids, and that
Mm,
is the only difference. So because we used to teach it to our kids, you guys wrote it down. You guys are suddenly right, right? And for me, that is the only separation I see. And when I say it's Christianity for a Zambian, I'm not talking about Christianity in the way that people see it. I'm talking
mhm,
about it in the way that we need to change the way we interpret the Bible. Because the
mm,
Bible is an account of us as a people. I
mm,
don't know
mm.
what your thoughts are around that. Do you see that in the same way that I do, or you are still following the conventional way of Christianity?
Yeah, I think yeah, yeah. Yeah, as you grow, you start to, especially when you spend a lot of time thinking about these things, you start to question like, why was I thinking about this the way that I used to think about it? I think sometimes things can be misused. So Christianity can be used as a vehicle to, I don't know. Ah.
Say it. Say it. Say it. You've already said it. Say it.
Say it.
Mm.
Yeah, because there's a thin line, right? There's a thin line where I think it can be used,
To drive agendas.
yes, yes, to drive certain agendas and to make sure that certain things remain the way that they are. So I feel like there are certain things that I don't agree with, which is a fine line because it's hard to debate faith. So if you believe that for you, if you are going to go and pray today, the whole day, praying to believe that something is going to happen. Let's say you're going to pray the whole day for an exam that you need to pass. And if you believe you're going to pass that exam because you did that. And for me, I believe I can pray right now, this morning, then I'll use the rest of the day to go study and I'll pass. I don't know how we can measure that faith. For you, you will say, no, this is my faith, so I'll do this. And I'm not sure if people can say that works. But for me, I think what works is I believe in God. Like I'm a Christian, I read the Bible. And yet I still think like the Lord wants us to do certain things. He wants us to be active as well. That's why He gave us these bodies for us to do certain things to make sure that things get done. So we cannot just spend the whole day at church believing that you see, that's why I'm saying it's problematic. I don't know if those miracles do work, but for me, I just feel like it wouldn't work for me. Is that a matter of me to play my part? I don't know. You know.
No, actually, I subscribe to what you're saying. I
Yeah.
don't, because the problem I have with today's Christianity is I don't care about the interpretation. Forget about whatever we know so far.
Mm,
What I believe in right now is I believe in the Bible. And if you
mm,
believe in the Bible, you as Christians read the Bible, it is clearly stated what we need to do. There is
yeah.
no verse in the Bible that says, do not study, just pray and I'm going to give you the answer. No way.
Yeah.
The Bible clearly states there, you need to work. You need to do something before we can, give it doesn't matter if you pray 24 hours, 7 days a week. I won't answer your prayers unless you do something to the land. You need to
Right.
do the actual work. And that's where the Zambians miss it because Christianity, they are looking at it from the point like the definition of faith that you gave, right? For them, faith is I just sit in my house and pray and things are going to work. That's why we are constantly blaming the government. Why isn't the government doing this? Why isn't
Mm,
the government doing this? You need to do something for the government to work. Step out of your house. Go outside and, build drainages. Go outside and, preach about things that the people in your community can do. That's what the Bible has always advocated. So this
mm,
definition of we are a Christian nation, but we are looking at the Bible in a so different way. I think that
mm,
has messed up so many Zambians because we're
yeah.
looking at it to say we're a Christian nation, and yet we don't want to do anything. We want to look at the government to do work for us.
Mm,
That will never work. We need to step out of our comfort zone and go work. That's why God told Adam, if you want to eat, you're going to farm, you're going to work for the land for it to produce food for you. Don't call
yeah.
yourself a Christian nation and yet you can't quote the Bible accurately. I'm
Yeah.
so upset with the way we interpret the Bible these days.
Yeah, you're really passionate about it.
I'm
That's
so passionate, you have no idea. Like, if I can go to every church right now and tell them, stop preaching what you're preaching, I wish I could do that.
yeah. I think for me, even just like representation is very important. I think some of the things that um I think I find problematic is just the way we view ourselves as Africans. At home, we don't really think about being black, but when you come to the US, you think about your blackness, right? So
Yeah.
I think also like still portraying Jesus as this white blonde guy, and then like just all those things. I feel like they do something to how a person identifies themselves. So if you cannot see yourself in a particular way, you always carry that inferiority complex. And I think the some of the things we don't think about when we talk about colonialism is the psychology of it. How does it now make the African think of himself, especially when he comes face to face with a white person, with the European who was the oppressor, right? The African being the one who was oppressed. And I think identity is very important, and the church sometimes they don't most of the time tackle like an African person. I don't know. I feel like it has done something to our psychology and how we just view ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, the church has a very big role to play.
Yeah.
The church has a very big role to play because you look at just our mothers back in the communities, the amount of time they spend in churches, the belief, the faith they have in the church to make change in their lives. And if the church is misleading them, they are gonna be misled.
Right. Yeah.
So if the church is preaching the wrong message, the entire flock is. That's why John 15 said, I am a good shepherd. And if I take my people in a certain way, they're going to follow me. So if
Yeah.
you as a pastor, you are busy preaching the wrong message, the entire flock is going to go the wrong way. So if
Yeah.
you as a pastor change the way you preach, you start telling the people, the Bible is actually a history about you. It's a history about us as a people. How we
Yeah.
were dispersed from the land where we were put, how we were brought here. Why is this happening to us? The Bible clearly stipulates that if you as a pastor, you are not preaching that to me, of course I'm going to be believing that if I pray, things are going to happen to me. Things don't just happen. God
Mm-hmm.
needs to step down and you need to do something to show it.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the Bible, there's no example in the Bible where somebody did something and I mean, somebody did nothing and something just happened. You needed to do something. Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac. He needed to get Isaac and go before God can show him what he needed to do. Who else are you going to tell me? Joseph, Jacob's son, he needed to be captured by his brothers and sent to prison before God could show him what the power he had. There's nothing you can tell me that God did that didn't have the person doing something before
Mm.
God can do something. Even Adam, the first man and woman Eve, God told them to do something before he can bless them. So you pastors, you have a role to play. You are misleading our people in the community because you are telling them that just sit at home, pray in tongues, and things will happen. Things will not happen if you just sit home and pray. I'm sorry, guys, but I just had to get that off from
Preach,
the chest.
brother.
Preach.
Preach,
Yeah.
brother.
Mhm.
Anyway, on a tangent. Fly, Eagles, fly. What comes to your head then?
Oh. Oh my goodness.
Does this prove that I read it?
Huh? Yeah, yeah. Which blog is this? Now I'm not even sure.
This is the one on your Instagram. Um,
Oh, okay, okay.
my question with that is, there's a particular paragraph where you talk about the resilience and attention to detail that football players particularly have.
Mm.
Um, which is something I feel like back home we do not have, like that attention to detail. We do things just for the sake of doing things.
Yeah.
Um, we we also kind of give up way too easily sometimes. If things don't go our way, you just give up and you try something else. If that doesn't go your way again, you put it down, try something else.
Mm-hmm.
What has being in the US and your journey so far taught you about resilience and making sure you focus on the things that matter?
Mm. Yeah. Oof.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, I think again going back to those values, right? I think one of the values that I really hold true is just being resilient, and like facing so many challenges, even like throughout my life journey, but to it, sticking to it, and I think yeah, I feel like just being resilient in life is very, very important to make sure that you see things through no matter how hard they get. And I think I've learned so much from like the game of football. Even just like, that's a very tough game, like physically, even just like physically taxing and everything. So like seeing it through, making sure that I don't know. I've just been picking up a lot of them. I feel like I'll go in circles from what I've learned there. But just also being very careful, like paying attention to details. I think even as a student, there's been times where like I don't really pay attention to details. Like if you give me a paper, I'll just write a paper just for the sake of. But like now, like I feel like I take my time to like make sure that okay, what exactly am I trying to say? Instead of me just giving you like scrappy work, but like making sure that um everything like is in place, like being careful of what I'm trying to put out. So if I'm writing, I'm paying attention to like okay, what's the message that I'm really trying to send, as opposed to just writing. Or if I'm doing a certain assignment, being careful to be like, what is this trying to teach me? So I used to wonder, I'm like, I used to complain, I'm like, this math, like why am I learning all this calculus, how is it going to help me? But to sit down and be like, no, it does more than just me memorizing this calculus or whatever integration. It helps
Mm.
me to problem solve. So I feel like paying attention to like why I do certain things and how I do them. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, no, it does.
Yeah.
You have any other question?
Yeah, like blogging. Why did you decide to start blogging? What was the reasoning for you to say, I think I need to start writing some of these things down?
uh Man, I think I've always, speech is something that I've practiced for so long, so I've been debating for a long time. But then I noticed that when I speak, sometimes like I'll just be saying things that are not coherent. This is like, yeah, one of the reasons why I started writing. So I wanted like when I speak, my words I shouldn't just say things, but they should have meaning. So I wanted to like find a way to make my speeches be as good as, I don't know, how do I even say this? I wanted what I say to be I wanted how I say things to be as good as what I say. So I wanted to start writing and practicing. Okay, if I'm speaking, I'm invited, like maybe at school, I'm giving a speech. I want to think about what I want to say. So I noticed that when I speak, I will say a lot of passionate things, but sometimes they're all over the place. So I wanted to organize my thoughts. So I thought, okay, let me start blogging so that I like put my thoughts together. But also, as I started writing, it became deeper. I really just wanted to reflect a lot because there was so much on my mind. And I read so many things that sometimes like my thoughts are all over the place. So I just wanted a place to write. But the reason why I started writing is I'm blogging for my future children to come and read my blogs.
That's a good one. That's a good one. For them to see what you were thinking about at this age.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like when you talk about the future, right? Like
Mm,
we know what Cararise is now, but then when you start thinking about the future, what are some of the things you are hoping to achieve from this point onward, and
mm.
how will those help Zambia as a nation or Africa as a continent? How will those goals that you have set help us as a people?
Mm. Yeah. Oof. I want to be an economist, an African economist to be specific. So working in education and health, but yeah, even macroeconomics is also very interesting to me. So just looking at the general economy, but it needs more education from me. I graduate next year. I want to work first, get some work experience, but I want to come back to school soon enough, not too long. Probably get a PhD in economics, and then yeah, go back home, any African country. I want to work there to help out in the economy. Yeah.
Zambia. That should be the country. But so I think when you're talking about like the curriculum and stuff, you said, if I'm not quoting you wrongly, right? You said that some of the things you are learning, especially regarding the economy, it's the economy of the country you're in, like USA, for example. So like you are talking about how you want to change the economy of Zambia. So like how is that different from the way Zambian economy is, and is that so different that you need to come back to Zambia and relearn the economy before you can begin to help, or it's similar that you can just come from learning and then come and help Zambia?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals, so the theories, they are the same. So the theory that I'm learning in economics will be the same, but just like the examples that we use, they are US centered. So for instance, I took a class on the economics of education. The education that we're talking about was the US education system. So we looked at the at kindergartens, middle school, junior high, and then high school, and then college. Very US. So now it's the theories will be the same, but now for me, I have to go put it in the context of Zambia to say, okay, so how do we do our primary school, our secondary school, grade 12, and then college as well. So just those examples here. When I'm reading about tax, for instance, I'll be talking about the IRS, right? So now when I go back home, I have to go back and start talking about ZRA and looking at how ZRA does things. Because now here I'm being so knowledgeable about how the US tax system works, but I don't know exactly how the Zambian system works. So I think I have the theoretical knowledge, understanding, but the context and going back to that practicality of things is what I'll have to go learn back at home. Yeah.
Nice, nice. We're definitely here with you if you need any help. But I wanted to ask. You see, people will be watching this and they'll be like, I want to be like Cararise. But then I want to know how Cararise manages learning about whatever she's learning and her social life. So how do you balance academics and your social life, and what do you learn from your social life that you think people out there can learn from?
Yeah. Actually, my next blog will be about relationships, which is, yeah, I think it's cool. I've written it already and I'm just finalizing it. Relationships are very important to me. And so I really, really like to connect with people. Um, and I think that's what keeps me grounded. That's what gives me the motivation to like continue pursuing the things that I pursue. So I think, yeah, again, going back to those value systems, family for me, friends and relationships are very important, and they come first after my faith in God. So I just, create, I think, basically just planning time, so I know what times I need to be in class, I know what times I need to be studying, I know what times I read, but I also very take with very like much importance time I spend with friends, so in family, making sure that I call, catching up with them since I haven't been home in so long, and then yeah, keeping up with friends as well. So I think something that I with adulting as well, like getting older, friendships just don't like, that you just can't rely on, oh, we'll meet, oh, we'll do this, a whole year will pass and you haven't seen someone and you're at the same school. So I think being very intentional about, okay, let's hang out this weekend and following through. I think that's something that I'm really working on. Like, I just don't want to say something, oh, Jackson will do this podcast, and then I don't show up. I feel like for me that's something that I'm really working on, and some of my friends, and again, to your point, it's very important to have friends who can tell you to say, Caris, I think you can work on this, or you're doing better at this. I really take like very importantly what my friends tell me, and I'm always asking them like, how can I do better? And they do a good job at like letting me know. So yeah, just creating that time very important. Those connections and friendships, and making sure that I do it. Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to study outside of Zambia? Why should I go to Japan, the USA?
Hmm. Man, I feel like one of the notions that I would like to, yeah, I don't, how do I even put this? If sung sometimes feel like you, paga.
Like, I'm not sure I'm about to do.
We can take it them.
I think when I say this, it's people would think, it's just because you've studied outside, so now you can say that, like you're speaking from a point of privilege. But
Yeah, speak for
before I
me. It's
answer,
yours.
before I answer the question, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to go study outside the country for you to become everything that you're meant to become.
Okay.
I said that because a lot of the times, yeah, I think I've noticed that some people start to think, oh, I need to go out, I need to go out for me to achieve everything. If you have the opportunity, take it. It's a very incredible opportunity. So to answer your question, why is it important? Man, just exposure. I think this word is redundant and we use it a lot of the times, but it broadens your perspective. You go to another country and you see, oh, what I thought like was the only way to life is not the only way
Yeah.
and do things. There are other ways to do things. So I think just having that global perspective, which sometimes can mess you up because you might have encounter like identity shifts and whatever, which is something that I've also struggled with to find my place within the context of the US because I lost my identity in Zambia and everything. But coming here and having to unpack a lot of things and finding myself in this country. But yeah, it just helps you like be diverse, broadens your perspective, learn how to do different, learn how different you can do certain things. It's not everything that we do wrong as Zambians, but it's not everything that we do right. So when you travel to another country, you pick what is right, what could work, and things that wouldn't work, even those, be careful enough to say, this doesn't work for me, I'll leave it. And then embrace the things that are, this is good, I want to pick this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Um, there's a notion that studying abroad will solve the business problem for most of the
Mhm.
people back home, which I don't think is the case. I am a firm believer in using the tools that you have. So if the opportunity comes by of you studying abroad, take it, utilize it. But
Yeah.
yeah, the grass is not always green on the other side. It's greener where you water it. So
Yeah.
just
Ngojapiri mdoanga.
what the
Yeah.
PD. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever you are, the truth is you will become everything that you're meant to be. Just have certain values, that resiliency, hard work. Wherever you are, certain things, they are principles. It will work. And whatever you are doing, um, I also advocate for like just a variety of like pursuits and talents. So if you want to be an athlete, you want to be an eagle, go and do it. Play soccer, but do it to the best of your ability, and also make sure that whatever you're doing impacts other people as well. If you want to be an actor, I feel like I think Sanford to Ngalanda, but in Zambia, like certain careers are like pushed forward more than others.
And why do
But
you
man,
think that is?
I don't even know. I think it's just people trying to be secure. Like if you're a doctor, I guess maybe you always have a job. But I know people who've studied medicine now and they're still trying to find jobs. I think people are thinking, oh no, if you're an engineer, then it will be easier for you. But I feel like follow your passion, man. Follow whatever it is that intrigues you. If you look at this thing, you can stay up all night reading and talking about it. Follow that, because when motivation goes away, that's the only thing that will keep you at it. So yeah.
How did you navigate picking what you pursue in college? Did you have any like difficult time, picking. But I'm just assuming you had like a 6 points or 7 points. So I'm assuming there was a talk of you doing medicine, you doing
Yeah, family is dictating what you should do.
yes. How did you
Yeah.
navigate through that and just say, okay, this is what I'm
Also,
passionate
like
about?
while you answer that question, like I was reading and I saw that you are the first in your family to go to college. So like, how did that play a part in what you studied?
The first to finish high school. So
Oh, nice.
Oh, not
yeah,
bad.
even college was like, yeah. So what was the question again?
How did you choose your major?
How did
What
I
was that?
choose
Yeah, the
that?
thought process behind that.
Yeah, I'm actually grateful for my family. They didn't really push forward anything for me to do. I know, like my mom, when I was really young, she was always like, "You'll be my doctor," and maybe I will for her. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll do medicine just to honor her. But yeah, when I was really young though. And my aunt as well would like talk about me doing medicine, but it wasn't like, oh, you should do this. I feel like they've really left me to be independent. Um which is like, yeah, I've had an independent career and educational journey for a long time where I was just making decisions on my own. Now, was that always the best thing? Maybe not. um but yeah, like I was saying earlier, I've always had interest in like politics and the economy. I was always reading newspapers whenever there's like elections at home. My uncle would like make me calculate those votes. So when they say this constituency, I'll be writing down the votes and would know the results before they announce them. So I feel like that is, yeah, was really like, I took that a lot from him. So yeah, then I had the opportunity to take economics in Japan, and I was like, I really love this. Maybe this could help our economy. So I was like, I want to do this, which sometimes I still have doubts. Sometimes I'm like, is this really what I should be doing? But I've always trusted my gut. So I just always follow through. And also I don't think anything is like with finality. I'm like, if I change my mind later on, I will change it. But right now this is what I've decided, and I'm gonna do my level best and I'm gonna follow through.
Talk to me about the importance of having positive examples in your life. You've talked about your uncle making you do that, which maybe, set you up for success in life because, you were kind of used to, you're taking up responsibility early on. So what are
Mhm.
some of the, good positive examples that you had growing up that even though you were the first to do what you've done in your family, they kind of like, guided you through and helped you?
Mm. Yeah, I think having good examples has really, yeah, it has really helped me. My uncle being, one that like, man, he taught me everything. He taught me how to read, how to write. Man, yeah, and several other people that have come along the journey, even teachers. Like I'm so blessed to have like had very good relationships with most of my teachers that I've had over time. And yeah, I've always been a very curious person. So even when I was young, like after class, I'll go to the teacher and I'll be asking them questions, and I think they really liked that. So they would always like they would always encourage me, and people saw the light in me before I could even see it. And so, before I could even have like, I don't know, like the ability to like see it for myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, like just having positive role models, whether I talked to them or I didn't talk to them, really helped me believe like there could be more. And when I started reading books, found the likes of the Dambisa Moyos, now finding the likes of the Mizinga Melus, all these people, I'm just like, if I want to be like them and I want to do these things. And my aunt as well played a very huge role. She's always been working, did accounting, and she wakes up every day, goes to work, doesn't complain about it. She's hardworking. She
Hmm.
she provides for the family and everything. And just looking at that, even without speaking, it's
Yeah.
just for me, it's just very inspiring. I've also had a
So,
mentor. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I've always had a mentor since I was 14, so grade 8, and
Mm.
she's been there. to listen, to speak to me when I have doubts, even about like my career choices. And I'm really appreciative of these people that have been around. They always trust me as well. Sometimes I'm like, why do they trust me? What if I'm making bad decisions? But they're always
Yeah,
like supporting and trusting the decisions that I'm making along the way. So yeah. Hmm.
yeah. You talked about them seeing the light in you, even though sometimes you yourself might be doubting yourself.
Yeah.
I also feel like that's a very important aspect of the older generation in just, you know, passing the baton to us. You just, as a person, you always need someone to believe in you. I feel
Yeah.
like, to just, also improve your confidence and stuff like that. I'm curious, are you doing this to anyone? Are you mentoring anyone? How are you giving back as well, seeing as, people give you that? So are you giving it back to other people?
Man, am I allowed to blow my own trumpet?
You should. It's your trumpet.
Those things make me so uncomfortable.
I know. And I feel like it's is it a Zambian thing or an African thing where we do not like talking about what we're doing, but we
That's
Yeah,
true.
should,
our
right?
achievements.
You should, because they are your achievement. We don't want to read them when you're dead. Oh, she did this. No, read them
Yeah,
now.
B1 sang.
Mm.
Munilangize chikondi chanu pamene ine ndikarumbidwa.
Boy, he was a good man.
Yeah. So let's praise the things you've done right now while we can.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talk
Yeah,
to us
man,
about them.
giving back is always like, yeah, something that I really, really enjoy doing. Yeah, and so I don't know, throughout like even when I was in high school, there's always been like somebody that I'm taking along with me to go study, maybe a grade 8. By the time I was like in grade 12, I would study with this one girl, and like we're still connecting right now, just checking up on their journey as well. So I have several people that I've connected with throughout time. Some of them have become friends now, but always like checking up with them as far as personal life, but more so their goals and careers and everything. Um, yeah, I've done some like created groups, all girls groups, where we're talking all things, some of the challenges girls encounter, but more so how can we help each other achieve goals and everything. This
Hmm.
blog also was meant for me to put something out there for people to read. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk to people, but I say what I'm doing in some way, shape, or form. It could inspire or open up an idea for them. But yeah, I tried to like do videos sometimes to teach. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's small things. I feel like some of the things that I really want to do, I had to put them on a hold just because school took up a toll, especially when I came to the US. So in my freshman year, I was trying to do so many things at once. Was involved in this foundation where we're helping mentor students to apply to schools in the US. Glad like some of the students I mentored are actually one is in one is at NYU, but the one in Abu Dhabi, some of them are over here in the US. Just in my small way, they did all the work, but just like helping them with their essays and everything. So
Yeah.
in my own way, some of those small ways is how I help. But when I'm done with these degrees, when I really wanna like do something for myself, like foundationally, maybe a structured thing that can help people to access opportunities.
Being a lady from a third world country like Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm curious, who are some of the women that you look up to? They can be Zambian or international. Because I feel like this sort of define and shape up who you are too. In addition to mental, right? These might be people that you do not have direct access to, but you're like, okay, I like how, that person leads their life and how they carry themselves. Recently in
Mm-hmm.
Zambia, a woman who's been um, put on that, limelight in that way has been Mzinga, and it's so nice to
Yeah.
see. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, who are the other people that you look up or who've been? Like, okay. Pwede po folks ka na yun. Nga nafika pa rin. Life ya ikala.
in Africa. Yeah. So
Eh,
definitely Mizinga Melu, like she inspires me. Like I follow her on every social media she's on. I
yeah.
bought her book. I haven't read it yet. It's one of my
Oh, she
summer
has a
things.
book. What's it called?
Braving the odds. Yeah.
I didn't even know.
I did not
Yeah.
know either.
Yeah, you can it's there on Amazon, so it was easy for me to get it. Um and then obviously Dambisa, because she's an economist like me. So I
Yeah.
really wanna like follow her footsteps as well.
Let me pause
Um
you there on the Mason.
yeah.
Uh, so Dambisa is with all the wealth of knowledge that she has, right?
Yeah.
She is not in Zambia.
No.
How do you plan on navigating when you have that wealth of knowledge? It's it's an easy thing for you to say now to say, when I get on my PhDs, I'll go back home, I'll give. But we've seen a lot of examples who've gone that route and then they just never go back home.
Right. Man, one day,
Hmm.
one of my dreams, I want to interview Dambisa more and ask
Yeah,
her this question that you asked. You don't go back home.
I it's such a powerful question because I feel like we
Right.
have so much that we can learn from her.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think she's obviously has her own justifications as to why she never returned. I'm just appreciating that she continues to share like books and all these things that
No,
we
for
can
sure.
learn from. So your question is, how am I gonna return?
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my dream. I don't know. I just see myself being at home and working there. Like I keep saying, like I feel like you can be very detached. You can only do so much when you're not there. And my passions, I feel more alive when I'm at home and I'm going to orphanage, for instance, which is some of the things that I really enjoy doing and I've done before. Going to orphanages and talking to kids, teaching them, you know man, I feel like if somebody can see you and experience you as a person, it does so much than me posting videos on Facebook or YouTube. But when I'm there, I feel like I could have a more connection with the children. So yeah,
okay.
I want to be there.
Okay, back to your list. Back to your list.
Oh, back to my list.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I read a lot of the books that I read are like female authors. So there's one woman, I've forgotten her name, but yeah, oh, I can't say her name correctly, but she read a book called Not Against All Odds. Um, it was right there in my mind. But anyway, I read one of her books. What's the name of that book? Yeah, I
Really
forget, but she
lows?
was CEO of IBM. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she wrote a certain very, very one of the best books I've read. I don't know why I'm blanking out, but I follow her
Hmm.
as well. I follow her on LinkedIn. I don't think I follow her on any other social media, and she likes to write about different things. So she
Yeah.
inspires me as well. Oprah inspires me. Um, and then look at me, Maya Angelou. I love her poetry. I've done poetry sometimes, so I want to get my like poetry to be really good. Um, yeah, I think to name a few.
Okay.
And then there was this
Okay.
woman as well, the founder of the high school I went to in Japan is a woman, really inspiring as well. I follow her and yeah, just read through her story, very inspiring. Man, I'm blanking out on the names and titles of books. I'm ashamed right now.
No, you should send them to us so that when we're editing this, we can put the books in the.
Yes.
I see why you started working. Because I'm blanking out. So when you're
Yeah,
bugging, even if you blank out, you remember and you
I'll
put it
go
down.
Google. I'm like, who's this?
Yeah. So the long wait of not going back home, has it been deliberate or it's been circumstantial?
Yeah, it's been circumstantial. I was just
Okay.
been waiting for the right time for me to go. Yeah.
Right.
Every year I'm desiring to go home. I'm like, I really want to go. And it's been really difficult too, being homesick. And yeah, kids are asking me every time, when are you coming home? And I'm like, I'll be there. They tell me they miss me every single time they call. And oh, I get sad. I get really sad. But I want to go home soon.
I think it's important to be home, like
Mm.
every now and then, man, just to see the state of affairs, because we are the change makers that are coming up, right?
Yeah.
So if we're always looking at things from afar, we won't be connected to the people back home. We need to
Yeah.
go there and see, oh, maybe we need
Mm.
They just become a voice in the wilderness, just looking for my oh, this. Like, go home and see, bro. I think it's different when you're and like we can talk about load shedding, but we'll be there be like, power has been cut for like 12.
You need to experience it because he said, you know, but I didn't correct than 1 minute.
It's
So
it's
man,
funny because power cut the other day for, and I'm not even kidding, for 3 seconds. The amount of panic I was in, that's not even cutting. It just flashed. It just like went on, pia, pia. And I was like, why? And just to imagine that people experience that for 15 straight hours is
15.
Yeah.
inhumane.
Yup.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the most sad part about that entire thing is, yes, we accept load shedding as it's upon us, but
Mhm.
we need to manage it efficiently. If you say it's power is going to, cut at this time, come back at this time, let it be those times. Not where you say power will cut at 6, power cuts at 4. It will come back at
Mhm.
12, it comes back at 5.
Yeah.
So, it's like it's difficult to plan like that. And maybe that's uh, a call to action for the government. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know,
And
across
Yeah,
the world.
that's to business though.
Exactly.
yeah,
Especially the
yeah,
SMEs, What
Nothing
what do you
really.
do
yeah.
if you operate a barber shop then?
Hey.
Exactly. Barber shop, printing shop, all these guys, they stop working.
Hmm.
It's a
Mm.
And
sad
then,
state.
like, it also calls for us to start understanding what is going on in the economy and what you can do to change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of intricacies, a lot of, minor details we need to focus on
I
if we
mean,
Yeah.
want to change.
to me, if you ask me, it's simple, and this might be controversial. Stop handing out money to CDF. Take all that money and invest it in solar. Now, what that does is put a tax on um those solar panels that you acquire, and let the youths start mounting them. That
Mm.
way, you're not handing out money, but you're creating jobs.
Mm.
So, in addition to them getting salaries, they actually have something to do. I again, going back to the Dambisa thing, handing out money doesn't solve anything. It in
Yeah.
fact creates more problems because the person on the receiving end is more determined than ever to say, "Oh, okay, this money will be handed out to me again. If they can hand it to me now, they'll hand it to me again." And again,
Mm.
it doesn't just have to be solar. We have uranium in Zambia. Yeah, there are so many other ways we can, generate electricity, and this is where our education system also fails us. How many engineers has the University of Zambia, University of Copperbelt produced? You're telling me those people do not have the capacity to think and come up with actual ideas on how we can solve these problems? Goes back to our education system. It doesn't encourage us to think. Or if it does, then those people are just lazy and they're not doing anything. Or if they're not lazy, they're doing anything, but they do not have the resources to do anything. And if
Right.
we cannot provide the resources, then that's misappropriation of funds because we do have the funds. So where are
Yeah.
the funds going? I'll tell you where they're going. Go to these nightclubs in Zambia at night and
Mm-hmm.
see how people are flashing money on useless things. And then
Mm.
just take a step out of that nightclub. I'm pretty sure you're going to find someone who's homeless or someone who's asking for money. So
Mm.
the poor get poorer, the rich get richer.
Yeah.
And we need to find a way of, you know, decentralizing that entire system. And I just feel like we as a country, the politicians have we have designed this system where we are constantly handing out money, which has sunk us this low. Like our
Mm.
people are always constantly just waiting for handouts. And you see it during campaign period, how the politicians campaign by handing out stuff. That's
Yeah.
not a campaign. You have to
Yeah.
campaign is, telling the people your ideas. How are you going to fix the economy? That's why we
Mm.
are victims of someone just telling you, swim me in at one, at two, the dollar will be at this rate. How are you going to do that? Explain to us exactly. But because he understands, or politicians understand, we're not there for the substance. We're there to
Mm.
be fed in that moment. And what
Yeah.
that does is it kills our generation, our next incoming generation.
Mm. Mm.
I feel
That's
like
it.
Jackson, I just went off, off my bad.
No, no, no. Nah, you said very important things. You said
Yeah, I
very,
just feel
you
like
know. Mm-hmm.
our education system, really, all the people that we are graduating, they need to start doing something. Over here,
Yeah.
you see someone graduating, right? And they have a, gosh, what are those? What's that class called? A capstone class, where you
Mm-hmm.
actually
Yeah.
have to, you have to build something.
Yeah.
Uh, Jackson, you can talk about all the conferences that you've been to. Battle of the Brains. Companies actually invest in inviting students from the entire US.
Mm.
They are not even. You find someone from a small college. They are there because they understand everyone has a role to play, and you never know where the next great idea can come from. They
Mm.
put these people in one place and just provide a space for them to be creative. Throw them a problem, let them solve it. We have none of that back home. None of
Mm.
it. Someone who's making the people making our laws are 60-year-old people who in the next
Yeah.
5 years won't even be alive to actually see those things through. What
Not
Mm.
kind of
only
thinking is
that,
that?
not
Mm.
only that, the problems they are solving are the problems they were encountering in 1964. This is
Exactly.
2024 for crying out loud. You
Mm.
guys cannot handle the problems we're encountering right now.
Yeah.
So if you're busy solving problems of 1964, how can we expect you guys to solve the problems we're encountering right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my point
Mm.
is we also need that youth voice, and we all need to be proactive. You just
Yeah.
cannot sit. If you're a student, be active with your major. If you're an economist, go and try and intern at an economy, go to the government, go to the Ministry of Finance or whatever. Tell them I'm a student at Crescent University doing economics, and I'm curious how does this government operate. I want to intern, I'll do it for free.
Mm. Mm.
But
And yeah, to your point, two things that I wanted to say. Number one, which is the last thing that you said,
yeah,
I just feel like in Zambian youths, I feel like they lack activism and
yes,
like like being involved. There's we I don't know, man. This How many of our friends do we know, for instance, wants to be politicians or are getting involved in politics? I feel like it's crazy how we live. I don't mean to call politicians dumb or anything, but we live this all 6 points people went and studied medicine, they went and studied engineering, they went and studied all this science, which is very good. But I feel like we shun away from politics. But then these people are creating policies that we are all living under. Because as
yep,
a doctor,
Yeah.
you're not get your own policies. So for me, I'm yet to find young people, brilliant young people who are aspiring to work in the government. Because yes,
yes.
governments are corrupt, but who is gonna uncorrupt these governments? It's the
And the
ASEAN
point,
people who
the
should
point
go
is, who is the government? We are
right.
the government. We are the people. So
So young people also need to have okay, we can also get involved. That's why like I don't even know how many young people we have in Zambia that are aspiring to run for this and this and this. We leave this job for these older people and we leave these jobs for
yeah.
certain people. So we need smart people as well,
Mhm.
driven young people to get involved in the government. So we cannot just keep complaining and yet, like you were saying, not be part of solving the problem. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on is just transparency. Going back to the values of a country, what values should Zambia really have? Our governments are not transparent. It's really hard for me to find information on Zambia. So,
That's true.
but the president came and said, "Oh, we've restructured our debt." Okay, what does that mean? Can you explain so that every Zambian, every ordinary Zambian can understand what you are doing? Because you cannot just come here and say we restructured our debt. We needed a proper statement from the president or the minister of finance or the governor of Bank of Zambia to come and break down that thing like a fraction to us and say this is what's going on, this is what means, so that every Jim and Jack, every ordinary Joe can understand what is going on. Imagine everything happens behind closed doors. When they go borrow money, they don't tell us. And then now, but these are the things we come and feel the effects. So I feel like our governments can be more transparent. If you are raising interest rates, you should come and have a proper press conference and tell us, oh, today we've raised the interest rates from 5% to 10%. Reason being, we want to do this, we want the kwacha to appreciate or whatever. We need to be understanding and knowing what's going on in our economy.
So is it
Yeah,
the problem of the press or the government? Is it
But
that
both,
the press?
both,
Uh,
both. And to also kind of throw in my 2 cents on this, as you are bringing that point up, Jackson. But the the government will make those decisions, but it's the job of the press to now disseminate that information, right? But then,
mhm.
if both of those things are not occurring, then there's a breakdown somewhere there, right? I
Yeah.
we live in a digital world, so we are all forced to be on social media one way or another. Another aspect that we the youths can really learn from is um, using social media for the positive, advancement of everyone. There's a guy
Mhm.
on X, formerly Twitter, but
Mhm.
he's a journalist, thinking about John Abuyayo.
Oh
He
yeah.
always has, like, I think, weekly or yeah, every Friday or Monday, he has like a summary of everything that's going on in the country. So
Mhm.
that's news you can follow, and every like major economic policy that is passed, he summarizes it. He gives
Mhm.
links to where the documents are. So just a call to action if some of you guys want to like find out what
Mhm.
some of these things that the government does, you can follow him and many other people on the internet that I'm pretty sure others might. And talking
Mhm.
about the debt restructuring, actually, from my understanding, what that restructuring means is they're defaulting paying those payments now to
Yep.
later. So what that means is they've
this
basically
is
said,
more truth,
if
guy.
we try to actually pay them PhD, but the next
Mhm.
coming generation will come and
Who
pay for that
pay?
money. What do we have to do with that money? Like, I don't
Yeah,
even know where that money went. Probably in someone's pocket.
Yep.
yeah. We are already on zero, and then you are making us go in negatives.
Negative. Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
a
so,
sad state of
yeah.
affairs, but we all need to be proactive and just be active. Like, do
Yeah.
something about the problem that you see, and it doesn't have to be every problem. We are all passionate about different things, but the
Right.
point being, do something about what you're passionate.
That's good. In our own way, let us just go and fulfill our obligation and do our level best. But I
For
call on
sure.
African youths, join government. Do community work, very important. But I think if policies are not changing, guys, we can do all the community work we want to do, but if the system is working against itself, we'll just always go back to the same thing. So we can
Yeah,
complain about education here, I can go teach in the community, but if we're using the same books that we were using 20, 30 years ago, it's not helping. So we want to go in, we fix the thing from the inside and say, well, let's rewrite these books. What do we need to do? If we're talking about changing the education, we actually change the actual education system. Because that's what governments are
absolutely,
there for. And that's why we pay taxes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you're saying we need to go join the government and
Yes,
not just talk about it.
that's my call to action. Let's go join governments.
And to Cararise's point, I feel like that looks differently, right? It doesn't directly mean go and stand for a position. It can also
Mhm.
just mean you voting for the person you think has the right set of ideas. Because
Yeah.
we also shun voting. Baka vota bobene, baka vota bobene.
Mm-hmm.
which is sometimes sad, but was nice to see the last presidential elections that we had. People went
Mm-hmm.
out in numbers because at least they somewhat believed what whatever they believed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
politics affects every one of us one way or another.
We cannot run away from
You
them.
cannot.
Unless you're
Yeah.
gonna go create your own utopia, the Zambian economy will always affect us. The Zambian
Yes.
government will always affect us. So you cannot say I don't care Nganina and power. But like that
Yes.
person is writing whatever policy is when you go to Children's Hospital tomorrow, it's their policies that are gonna affect you. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
One quality that I have grown to appreciate about the United States of America is their patriotism and how much they love their country.
Mm-hmm.
These guys will it's 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 admirable what they do for their country.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's something we need to preach back home because we can only have one Zambia. We're not going to wake up one day and they'll give us Zambia 2.0. So it's our
Tagwa.
country.
Yeah.
We are supposed to develop it. So we need to love it with all its blemishes.
Yeah. To even it's our continent.
It's our
So
country.
there's something else that I would like to encourage as Africans is African relations. We really need to know, like for me, the first non-Zambian friend I had to leave Zambia. I met them in Japan. I feel like we
Yeah.
need we need to connect with fellow Africans. So we should all have someone we know from Zim, from Nigeria, from Ethiopia. Africans, we need to connect. You would rather connect with somebody who's non-African than Africans ourselves. So we want to see certain businesses come up of different Africans from different African countries.
Yeah.
Again, to your point, it's the only continent that we have, and it's our own. So if we can have friends from different African countries, it will really help. On a broader, we can talk about Africa uniting economically, but we need to make those relationships within the continent as well. So me, I count. Okay, Namibia, I have a friend there. This, I have a friend there. I have a friend. Back until I finish our 50 what? 54, 55,
Yeah.
54 countries.
And to someone out there who's watching who maybe might not have that capacity, right? Again,
Mm-hmm.
I always try. I'm a very practical person. This
Mm,
can look differently for you. It can also just mean if you're in Kalulushi, have a
mm,
friend in Ndola, have a friend
yeah,
in Northwestern Province, have a friend in Southern Province. You find
yeah.
people they are born in one, part of the country. Like Jackson. Jackson has only been to the Copper Belt for 2 weeks. He's never been to Western, Southern. I myself have probably only visited the provinces along the line of rail in Zambia.
Mm,
So that's
mm,
also a major problem because we do not interact as much with ourselves. So we do not
mm,
really understand and see the problems that we face. Because if you only know, there's a member saying, "Umwana ashenda atashane nokunaya,"
eh,
Mm.
meaning, you all
yeah,
know the meaning. You can interpret for the viewers, but
eh,
there's I don't know how to put it. You appreciate more by being exposed, which even comes back to the point we're talking about of studying abroad. It just opens your mind, and
yeah,
it's something I wish most people should experience. Unfortunately, it won't be like that. It's up
yeah.
to us to give them the information.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity, travel. Like the first time I was in Livingston was in
Uh,
2021. We know where the Victoria Falls is, but Katwishi, we just like it's there. Other people experience it. It took people in Japan asking me, "That's all they knew about Zambia." Oh, have you been to the Victoria Falls? I'm like, no. So the first thing I did when I went home, I'm like, I have to go to the Victoria Falls. So
yeah,
I know maybe again coming to like, oh, you have the money to travel, but like if you can move around. I'm yet to go to the Copper Belt. I need to go there. Move around, like see what our country, we have so much
yeah.
there as well. So
We
yeah, very good point you raised.
we need to go to the Mosotonia Falls, Jackson. And on that point,
Bruh, let's do that.
even like taking it back to the politics section, a lot of people complain that the Macedonia Falls fees, could get in like extremely high or like
And
just in general.
in dollars. What's that?
Exactly. It's again
Yeah,
goes back to politics, right? The
yeah,
people in power are making those policies.
yeah,
So
yeah. I like
some
how you guys are calling it Domosotunya. That's good. Even me, I need to
uh,
decolonize myself and call it the right way.
We don't want to call it by that name.
yeah. I
That's good,
mean
guys. Kudos.
Jack Jackson made Stanley as a Gigi.
Oh, bro, I hate that. Oh, my goodness. Stanley Adugiji. That's the worst thing they put in our curriculum.
Yeah.
You said
Anyway,
what's the last part to it? He met what? He met Stanley where?
at Ujiji,
Adugiji.
there's a place I think called Ujiji in Africa, wherever
Okay.
that is.
Yeah,
So
somewhere in the, is it in northern province or somewhere there?
Okay.
isn't it in Tanzania? Is that in Zambia?
It's in Tanzania, but it's like up there.
Up
So it's
there, yeah.
like he met him at Ujiji. What the
Then
heck am I supposed to do with that information?
it's like saying
uh,
Jackson met Cararise in Oklahoma.
Hey,
So
and then
what?
what?
how does that affect anybody?
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh.
Yeah, but Karis, I wanted to find out like right now, if I'm
Mhm.
the Almighty and I was to give power to Cararis to change one thing in Zambia, I'm like, you can change anything at all. What can you change in the nation and why?
Hmm. That's a good question. Ooh, man, I'll change the mindset.
oof,
Mm,
Yeah,
deep.
oof. That's that's such a mature answer. God, that's such a mature answer. Because that changes everything, though. You change
yeah,
the mindset,
Yeah.
you solve half of our problems.
yeah,
Ah,
So in short, the way we see things as a nation is
yeah.
flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson, the mind is such a powerful thing, and I don't know why I feel so. I relate with your answer. I mean, just to give you an example, right? I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if Jackson you experienced this when you went back home. I would visit like just a hotel, a place, and if there's a white person there, the
Yeah.
amount of attention they would get compared to you, you'd be surprised. And that's a mind thing.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, we naturally feel like those people are more important.
Yeah.
It has so many applications, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So many applications. Our minds, even just at the airport when you're landing, if there are other people landing with you of a certain race,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll stop mentioning, I'll just say other races. Just the amount of attention they get, they'll offer to get their bags. A
Mm-hmm.
Zambian will offer to get their bags, but you won't offer to get your bags. Your own kind.
Yeah.
Again, a mindset thing.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how we look at it. And to your point, we don't say other races are not important. What
No,
inferiority complex does is it makes you feel
yes,
unimportant. And so you
yes,
put these other people on a pedestal. And
yeah,
I feel like that's something that I have been working on myself to say, how do I look at myself? When I'm in a
uh-huh.
room with a person of another race, do I think of myself equal or do I
Yes,
immediately put myself down?
no,
You know,
yeah,
so I feel like yeah, that's one thing. Like, if we can change how we even think about ourselves, like,
hmm,
yes, you are this color, but like that has nothing on me. You know what I mean? To just build my
yeah,
self confidence and my self esteem. I don't think you're less important than I am, but I think I'm also not as, less important than you are.
yeah,
You know, very important, and that's why, like, self-hatred, that's another topic that I've tried to like write about a lot, like in my blogs, writing about like bleaching, why do people
mm,
bleach their skin. I've written about
Yeah.
why are we always wearing straight hair extensions, what happened to our afros, why are we always hiding them. Very very important things that people need to reflect on, going up every time women in the community, they're going to buy my Carolite. For what are you bleaching your skin for? Do
Yeah,
you we hate ourselves that much? So I think those are some of the things, if we could change how we think, I feel like it would change, like you said, half of our problems would be gone.
that's a very powerful thing, man. The mindset. To everyone, watching, listening out there, the mind is such a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Guide what goes and comes out of it. I'll ask you a similar question to what Jackson asked you. If you could
Mm.
be anything in this world, what would it be?
Oh man. If I could be anything.
Two questions. If you could be anything, what could it be? And then
Mhm.
secondly, if you could do any career, what career would you choose? Like if they were just to tell you, say, you do this, you want, yeah, you do this career and you'll be the best at it. Which one would you choose?
Oh my goodness. If I could,
Jackson should just answer this question. After
yeah,
you
just
answer,
to
Jackson
start.
should just, that's
No,
it.
that doesn't.
You want me to start? So here's the thing. Like with what I know now,
Yeah.
I swear to God, if I could be anything, it
Mm,
would be a preacher.
A preacher.
mm, mm.
Preacher. I swear to God. Like
Okay.
Preach,
I
brother.
feel like the Bible, the way it was intended to be interpreted, can
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
guide us to greatness. But we've been so misled by the way
Yeah.
it is interpreted with our current, churches and stuff like that. If I
Mm-hmm.
could
Mm,
be anything, I want to be that voice that every young person goes to listen to say, oh, this is actually what the Bible talks about. Because I believe the Bible talks about us as a people. It talks about the black skin. But because we've been so, like, our mindset is so, like, colonized, we don't even believe that that's what the Bible is talking about.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody now Jesus is black, as I go I'm black, there's no way that Jesus is black. But like, if I could be anything, I want to be that voice that people can go to and say, this is actually what my people like. What Because the Bible is a collection of what happened to our people back in the day. So I want to be that voice. I would want to be that voice where this is me. I see
yeah.
myself in that. If I can
Yeah.
follow the rules of the Bible, I can be this. So I would like to be that person. Aside
Mm.
from the biblical term, I would
Uh-huh.
like to be the. I think we talk about it a lot in on this podcast, but education, man. Our education system is so flawed. I would like to be the person that is in charge of saying what goes in our curriculum, what doesn't. I would like to be that person that says, yeah, our kids don't need to know about the beings of Stanley and Ojiji. I want our kids to know what we can do to help our people. I
Mm.
think Minister of Education or something related to that. I would
Mm.
love to be that kind of a person.
Mm. That's good. That's really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Man.
this it's been an amazing episode. We've clocked 2 hours just sitting here, and it's felt like 15 minutes. I still feel
Yeah.
like we can go on and on and on, but yeah, we need to leave time for the listeners to do other activities as well.
Yeah.
Cararise, it's been a pleasure. I've absolutely enjoyed this episode.
Mm.
Um, I appreciate you taking the time and just sitting down with us. We
Mhm.
always tell our guests this. Look out for part two. We are definitely going to invite you back
Oh.
here again,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a few months, a few years, just to see where your mind is at, next time you speak. So thank you so much once again, and it's been amazing meeting you.
Oh, thank
Jackson
you.
does the closing and the opening, so I'll let you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Before I close, anything you want to leave the audience with, Cararise?
Man. Yeah, I think we've we've left everything here. I'm just so grateful that you guys invited me and we got to speak on these things. Yeah, just also sharing ideas. I would, I think you guys have also done episodes where it says the two of you. So I think to know pick your minds as well. Just go listen to those ones as well because I know that you're both brilliant, and you have ideas that I would definitely learn from. So I'll go ahead and listen. But to our viewers, especially if you're a young person out there in Zambia, just keep focused, have your visions written down, and just strategically follow through your goals. You are here on earth for a reason. So, whatever that reason is, just make sure that you work towards it. All distractions aside, you are born to be great. So go ahead, write those goals down and pursue those things. If you want a mentor, if you're a girl out there in Zambia, you can reach out to me. I don't know if you guys put out like um,
Yeah.
you know, social media.
We will for this one.
Reach out to me if I can help in any way. I will. But I also have a lot of friends that I could maybe introduce you to that can help you. But we want Zambians, young Zambians, the ladies in particular, boys. You have your boys here; they can help you out. But girls in particular, we want you to be great. So be that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mazimbere na Zambia. Everybody out there, you've heard it here. And if you've reached this far on the episode, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. This was an amazing job. And I know, like, if you've come this far, you've learned one or two things. You guys out there can help us support the channel. Please share, like, and subscribe. Share this content because we believe this is the content that every Zambian and every African needs to hear to, advance in our life going forward. But without further ado, Zikomo, we appreciate it, and we're gonna leave it to you. And peace out.
Tayari kila kwambili.